Charles, why are camellias so popular today?
Well, up until the turn of the last century, camellias were considered to be a rich man's plant. They were grown in conservatories, they were considered to be tender, and you only found them in places like Chatsworth in huge conservatories. And then suddenly, because of the work of George Forrest, plant hunting in China, he discovered in 1917 in Mount Petardii a species of camellia called Camellia saluenensis. And seed of that camellia came back to Caerhays, and my great-grandfather, J.C. Williams, crossed that with Camellia japonica from Japan, which had been around for a long time. The resulting hybrids were spectacular because they had all the attributes that other camellias up till then didn't have. They were extremely hardy, they flowered for months and months and months, sometimes up to 6 months. In the main, their flowers drop off the plant, and basically the camellia jumped out of the greenhouse and into everybody's gardens. The first crosses were made in 1923. They were first named, the first Williamsii camellias were named in 1927 and were exhibited at the RHS in the 1930s. The first 2 camellias to gain awards at the RHS and are still around and very popular today are St. Yew and J.C. Williams.
And St. Yew we have at Rosemoor, have a huge one right over in Lady Anne's garden.
Well, St. Yew is a most marvellous windbreak in the West Country, and it grows like a weed, and if you haven't got a flower in November, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Are there any other favourite hybrids of Cross Williamsii which you feel have really stood the test of time and still to be planted today?
Well, I mean, the reality is that same cross has been done thousands and thousands of times all around the world, and there are now 20,000, 30,000 times Williamsii camellias out there. So it's quite difficult to make a choice, and really I think one has to come back and look at what are going to be the most popular garden plants because of their shape, because of their hardiness, because you can grow them in tubs as well as in the garden. And if I were going to pick out just 2 or 3, I think probably Debbie would be very close to the top of the list. Brigadoon, which has the most enormous flowers, and so flowers are so great they weigh down the upright branches, would be the second. And I suppose you have to pick a Jory, don't you? And Jory's yellow is such a popular plant, even though the petal, the flowers don't always fall off as you might like them to.
Yes. And with the hybridisation of them, why was it started particularly, do you know?
Well, my great-grandfather was far keener on hybridising rhododendrons than he was on camellias. You have to remember that we're talking about hundreds of new rhododendron species being discovered between 1902 and 1932 by Ernest Wilson and George Forrest. The number of camellia species that was found in that time is relatively small, and the Camellia reticulata in itself has become very popular, and its hybrids have. Camellia saluenensis is really rather dull, and I think the answer to your question is really that there wasn't the range of camellia species that have more recently been discovered in China. Therefore, the opportunities for hybridization, as there were in rhododendrons, between many scores, if not hundreds of species, simply wasn't there.
Yes.
And that's why I don't think quite so much was done in the camellia world as it was done in the rhododendron hybridization world.